Francisco Del Valle swings on the first pitch, down to right field. Going back is Chu. Chu at the wall, and it's gone!
Welcome, RailCats fans, back to the RailCats Talk podcast. He's Chuck Polarek. I'm Kyle Svetich. Chuck, how was your 3 games of watching RailCats baseball this week?
One good day and two not so good days, but it is what it is, right? How
Yeah,
about you?
we only had 3 beautiful games against Fargo Moorhead. We won 10-0 the first one, lost 7-3, and then yesterday 8-1. Um, I don't really think this is going to be much a discussion on what we saw out in the field. I am going to tease a couple things. We have a Howard Rodriguez interview coming up. We also have a Nate Alexander interview coming up, and then we will have a Josh Smith. That one is going to be recorded on Monday. We just got done doing Howard and Nate before this, so we have a little bit of insight to those two
And we
versus.
just had Cooper this week.
And we
So
did, yeah, we did have Cooper. So if you haven't listened to the Cooper one, make sure to go back and listen to that. There was some good stuff on there for him.
hold on. Cool. There we go.
Out of the 3 interviews that we've done so far, what are some of your bigger takeaways from those?
Um, you know, it I I'm gonna say just the gratefulness to be able to play baseball.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that it's there, right? But you don't really get to actually talk to the players about it. And that's been, these guys are really grateful to be playing. They're grateful to be in Gary. And they're working their butt off. I think at the end of Nate's, I say, hey, thanks. I know we get to see you guys play or it was Howie. You guys get to play for 3 hours, but there's 5 hours before and after that you guys are working, and putting in just for that product, and we appreciate it. So a lot of time and effort goes into this, but it's their love of baseball. So
Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, the 3 that we had on are almost like a Cinderella story aspect. I mean, I understand that Nate was drafted, but getting cut and released from Pioneer League, and
let's not ruin it. Let's not ruin it. All
I,
right, let's
I,
save it for the
I
next
I'm
guys.
just,
If you want to know what he's going to talk about, you watch Nate's podcast. That's it. That's it.
I,
No
I,
more talk about it.
I'm
We're
just
done.
saying, there's more to it than it's the trailer, right? The trailers are 30, 40 seconds
Right.
long. You were
You
just talking
gave me
about the
the
trailer.
trailer. The trailer was we're gonna have Nate. We've already recorded.
No,
Be
you gotta
out there.
really,
That's the
really,
trailer. It was
really,
put it this way. Nate's conversation, fantastic.
yes.
Howie's conversation, fantastic. Cooper's conversation, fantastic. They all bring something different. They all play different positions. They all
You
have a
ruined
different
it.
outlook or different perspective of
You
baseball.
ruined it.
And it's great.
I guess Nate's just more on my mind because we just got done doing it. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
but here's a question for you. Since we're not really gonna be talking about the product on the field, I mean, we've seen good things, we've seen bad things. It's the same thing we've been talking about all
I
year.
I do want to talk about the product on the field for these past 3 games. Here's what I
Okay.
want to mention about the product on the field. Um, we've seen really good pitching.
Hmm.
Irwin came out there, 5 innings, no hit ball. Good
Yes.
job. He has been, I'm going to say, extremely consistent. Might have had one, did have one, might have had two where it was like, okay, this isn't great, right? But consistent. Um, good job, Irwin. Uh, we've got Basabi playing third base, killing it, getting these balls, knocking them down and stuff. Might not be making the play where he has to throw it to first, but he is stopping that ball and keeping it from being down the line a double, a triple, stuff like that is fantastic. Valera gets hit in the arm. He's out for a couple of games, and we've got Contreras comes in and plays his butt off. So it's great having when somebody goes down, having somebody that's able to pick up the pieces and ready to go. And that comes with a lot of preparation, and that comes with a lot of uh, teamwork. And I think that if we wanted to get into something, we want to give a spoiler alert to Nate, is that, hey, he mentions it. We got each other's back. We're lifting each other up. There it is. There's your spoiler.
So,
Thinking about it.
well, no, I guess we didn't talk about it last week, but it didn't necessarily matter anyways because we were talking about if or when Rincon was coming back, what the lineup was going to look like with Perez in it.
Right.
Well, Perez got cut.
Yep.
Another update is that Detson Dotson, he's on the IR now. We signed Jacob. It's gonna be very hard to say his last name. He's a pitcher that,
Jacob Barr.
yeah, Jacob Barr. He's coming from the Pioneer League. Only played like 2 games with the Oakland Ballers, who's a new Pioneer League team. I haven't really dove deep into him quite yet, but that's just some of the transaction that's going on. But the one thing I mentioned this yesterday was we go off of a game where we score 10 runs and the lineup was with Howard up front, leading off, then Gio, and then we switch it all up and we go to where he's not in the lineup anymore. Gio's leading off. I guess for me, it feels like when something's finally clicking, we change everything up.
Yeah. I would expect this at the beginning of the season when you're trying to feel out what's working, what's going to work better, where are your gaps and what have you. I would expect to have these kind of lineup changes at that point. But this late in the season, you should already know where your players are going to be at. You should already know what's working. And when you come out and you get 10 runs, uh, I would say, why are you not going out the next game and doing the same thing? And I don't. That's a question, right? Is I understand the pitcher might be different, but I don't know that playing the percentages of, well, next pitcher's a left-hander and these guys are. I don't know. To me, when you're hot and you're going out there and you're clobbering the ball, the whole team is firing. You don't necessarily make a change like that, and seems like this is something that we've done. I'm going to say we've done this for the past 2, 3 years under Lamar, is that it's a constant batting order change.
Well, but I mean, it's even the same point of, okay, Rincon, who is our power hitter, why
Batting
is
two.
he, yeah, why is he batting number two? Like, why is
I
he that to me doesn't make any sense. I would rather have, I know Francisco Devay has been hitting the ball all over the place. He's been catching fire recently, but why not put him in that second hole spot? I mean, he's
I
got
know.
speed, he's got some kind of power. His power's been coming, but you put Rincon in a position where he's going to have more people, at least with that power, you're going to score more. Like, I know Valera's back. Why, if you're not going to have Howard in the lineup, it just does, to me, it just doesn't make sense to put Rincon in the second hole. Even outside of that, I mean, granted, Sierra had a walk, but he went 0 for 3, struck out once, but I'm pretty sure it was twice, but they have it different on point streak. But then Howard comes in and he gets to walk. I feel like there can be a consistent change between Howard and Miguel with Sierra because other than Sierra's ability to hit the ball further than Howard, the power numbers are there, but ultimately it's who you're gonna have to ride the hot hand in this situation, and who's the hotter batter and who's gonna be more productive. The batting average
So,
is the same. I think the slugging's a little bit higher for Miguel, so the OPS average is itself. So when you look at all the numbers, they're basically identical, except
yeah,
Howard hasn't been playing professional baseball for as long as Miguel Sierra has.
right. I think that's a tough one because what's going on? All the guys just came in.
Oh,
Did you bring some for me? Oh, that's
oh,
unfortunate.
well,
Yeah. They
change the
eat
locks.
good. Eat good, but they don't bring any for me.
Change the locks.
Yeah. Um, here's I this is tough because I really enjoy looking at batting orders, and I really enjoy the mentality or the mental that goes behind um, reasons why people bat the way they do, right? Uh, there's a reason why you have a cleanup hitter. There's a reason why you have a third, number three hitter. There's a reason why your leadoff guy is one of the fastest guys on your team that gets on base. There's a reason why that guy takes walks, and does everything that he can. His on base percentage needs to be high, right? So there's a role for each position in that batting order, and with us having Rincon number two, it doesn't make any sense. For us not having, I mean, Del Valle's solid. He's a solid number two. He's got speed. Rincon doesn't have speed, right? So let's say best case scenario, Gio gets on base and Rincon comes up and gets him over to third. Rincon's not going to second base, and so now you've got a double play situation, and it's like, okay, you might get Geo in, but you could have got Geo in 12 different ways than
Yeah.
wasting Rincon right there. So you'd be in the same situation if you had Geo gets on base and Del Valle gets a hit. You still have Geo at third, and only difference is Del Valle can steal now, and Rincon can be up to bat or he can be in the hole. So I don't understand that. That's a tough one. You would think it's obvious, so there must be something behind the scenes that's making it not so obvious, that's making that decision. But I don't know.
I mean, it could just be going back to these are the guys that he's brought in at the beginning of the year are his guys, and he's whoever comes in after them, they're not going to be replaced. At this point in the year, I don't think you're looking as much turnover in general. I think the only turnover that you're going to get is the mysterious unknown trade deadline that everyone talks about. I Whatever the case may be.
3 games before playoffs, yeah,
Yeah. So
joke.
other than that, I mean, I don't see a major overhaul except unless we're giving pieces away, which at this point, if we haven't given some away, I don't think that we are necessarily going to.
I I can't say that because last year it was everybody was at the end. You got rid of Woody, you got rid of Lingua, you got rid of Sheiks, and they were solid pieces, and it was a hey, these guys might not play again. Let's put them on a team that's competing and give them that opportunity. But we still have the same thing. I mean, uh, talk to a couple of guys. Are you coming back next year? I don't know. It's like, okay, what, you know, maybe it is best that you put them on a
Well,
situation they're good enough, put them in a
yeah,
situation where they can win a game and get something back. What did we get back from Woody is we got Basabe. And that's
yeah.
been
If the player to be named later was
right.
Basabi out of that.
And that's been a big upgrade for us, right? So maybe you're playing for next year. I don't know. It sucks. We're here on July 28th talking about playing for next year.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
I,
This
we're well. You just, I mean, the reason we're talking about that, if you don't really pay attention much to the standings, we're 15 games back from first place. Like that's a pipe dream and a half. But the Milkmen are in fourth at 6.5 games back, and we're 15 games back. So we're looking at what, 9.5 games, 10.5 games back almost.
with what 13 games left to play. I mean,
Well, home games at least, but we have
13
we
home.
have a month and a week.
Yeah. It's can they do it? Absolutely. We keep hearing this. I heard this yesterday. Heard it on Friday. Think I even heard it on Thursday. We're the best team on paper.
Yeah,
But that being said, we can't go to Commissioner Schwab and say, here's our team on paper, put us in the playoffs.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
even to take away uh, from the linking up with Lamar that the RailCats posted out. was he talked about the consistency, and it just hasn't been there.
Let's make this question and really ponder this. Can you blame the players for inconsistency when your lineup isn't consistent? I mean, have you really, you go out there, you get 10 runs, you change the lineup. You go out there, first game of the series before, you get however many runs it was, we won that game, you change the lineup. You know, I there's a different mental aspect to batting first versus batting fifth versus batting ninth. And what are you trying to get the guys to work on or get them to realize when you do that?
Yeah, I think I mean, I guess we take the prime example of look at the back half of our bullpen. You have Josh Smith, Yohan Valdez, uh, Nate Alexander, and you can throw Julio Pinto in there. He's had a couple rough outings here recently after he had to go away for extended time, I think, with family. But they've known what their role is since day one, and they've been the most consistent
Right.
throughout the entire year. I just feel like I guess you could say that most of the inconsistency has been with the lineup change, but does that also play in the fact of the players have played inconsistently, so you may have to change something up? Yeah, it's
So I would agree with you if we had the lineup or whatever it is and we stuck to it and we saw those ebbs and flows of highs and lows. But we see the high, we change it. We see another high, we change it. And that's not even, I mean, you're not even giving it the opportunity to have a back to back or a go for three or whatever. You know, there is, I mean, come on, you know,
so
Rincon is getting on base on a regular basis. I get that. But when you've only got a guy on first for him to get on base, it doesn't necessarily work. You should have that guy already at third base. And the way you do that is by pulling him deeper in the lineup, putting him at third, putting him at fourth, and getting those other guys, the Delvi, to move over the Geo to make that happen. Yeah.
so basically, since I would say potentially the Chicago series back on July 12th has always been Gio and or Howard and then Gio.
Yep.
Granted, you didn't really get a lot of wins out of those series. I mean, we haven't won a series since King County in July 25th to 27th. So it's been a complete month since we've won
We
a
haven't won
series.
a series since you said, wow, we've won a lot of series in a row.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is it's just an oddity. I mean, we talk about a change in the lineup. A lot of the change in the lineup has necessarily been in the middle, the lower portions, and not so much the top. It's just this gets highlighted after we score 10 runs, and then we've all of a sudden we get a couple players back. Flitter comes back, Delvi or not Delvi,
Rincon.
Rincon comes back, and all of a sudden just kind of changes out of nowhere. Like, granted, you want those people to come in and produce because a lot of the things has been, are we at a point to where do we look at a Valera and Contreras and go, are we just going to ride the hot hand with whoever's going to play first? So that way we're not necessarily um, pulling a Howard who has been consistent at the top of the order and Gio who's been driving in those runs because Howard gets on base. You have two speedy guys that are getting on base and are being productive. Do you risk taking him out of the lineup to put a Contreras that has been hitting really well, but goes through his absent flows of he's just a power hitter? Like it's just we don't get enough runners on to where those people, are producing. So if Valera's cold for a minute, you bring Contreras in, he's hot. Like, are we just at a point to where we just need to kind of keep the lineup the same and then just kind of plug and play with who's been hot and who's not?
Yeah. So I I think that it's hard to keep Valera out of the lineup because he has been getting on base constantly. I think he even has the highest batting average on the team.
If Valera's at a 281 right now.
There you
So
go.
then Rincon's at a 270. 5.
So you can't keep your number one batting average out of the lineup. And seeing that Contreras was he was doing good. It's hard for you to put Jackson and take Contreras out. That being said, um, and Howie is the one that lost out on that deal because now you bring LG in, you put Contreras to the outfield, you don't have Howie there, and then Sierra's struggling, So I understand that part. I don't understand why the lineup was the order that it was in, but I put Gio number 2 because Gio's been getting hits. Put Howie number 1 because Howie's been not as consistent getting hits, I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that it's just a better lineup that way. Putting Howie number 1, Gio number 2. Give me a Del Valle number 3, and then give me a Rincon number 4. And you've got out of those, you've got 3 guys and a Valera number 5. Okay. Because when you're running the base path, uh, you know, um, Howie's not going to slow down Gio.
Yeah.
And Howie and Gio aren't going to slow down Del Valle, right? And then you have Rincon. None of those guys are going to slow down Rincon. And then when Jackson comes up, that's okay because Rincon isn't necessarily going to slow down Jackson, right? So you've got a nice flow going there when you do it that way. And how you finish that up, I probably put LG next because LG has this thing where he's got guys on base and he gets a hit, So I'd probably follow it up with LG there, in the 6th spot, I believe is where we're at, and then you've got to figure out what do we do with Contreras. Do we put him in? Probably not. Do you have Sierra in there? I don't know. If you do have Sierra in there, you're going to have to put or you don't have Sierra, you're going to have to put Contreras in there. And then Quintana over Coop. I didn't understand the call of Peyton not throwing to Coop yesterday.
Yeah, I thought we were at a point to where the pitchers had their catchers.
Right. And
it's
like, oh, okay, I'm confused.
Granted, I understand that it's still a big struggle with Cooper is his batting. It's just not at the level that it should be. And it's not like Quintana isn't producing. He's starting to. He's getting his batting average back up. I mean, it's only at 222, but I just, you made the comment yesterday that Dylan Thomas was like, you can just run on him all day. I know he threw out 2 people, but I'm pretty sure both those runners slid off the bag, which classifies as caught stealing, which I don't think it should be. I think it should be just a normal 2-6 put out because they were originally safe. They just overslid the bag. Like, I still think that should hurt against a caught stealing percentage. If we're looking at the 10-0 line, the 10-0 lineup was actually changed because Howard Rodriguez actually bat 9th instead of 1st, and Gio batted 1st and Rincon batted 2nd. I just think I think for now, I think they just need to find a lineup, look at a game that they've won a lot of runs or scored or had a lot of hits, just didn't score a lot of runs because sometimes that happens. I mean, how many times do we score so many or we get so many freaking hits and we don't score a run? It's astronomical at this point. Are we just to a point we just need to, all right, the lineup is what it is, and whoever's just not you can have a consistent rotation between the DH role, a first first baseman. You can have a rotation between the infielders with Sierra and Howard and all them. Uh, Just if something's just not working for a while, just don't. You're saving the same lineup. I mean, Lake Country didn't change their lineup. I don't think they changed their lineup once when we faced them. I think maybe at the end they did. I think in the Sunday game, but they replaced players. It wasn't like a complete lineup change.
Right.
I just think that I would probably attribute most of the most inconsistency to probably is the lineup change because, like you say, we're creatures of habit. If you know consistently that I'm going to the ballpark and I'm batting first, that's what my mindset's going to be. Then when I get to the field and I see that I'm batting last, it's like, well, now my mindset's a little bit different. It goes hand in hand, I think, either way. I think at one point the players have put themselves in the situation, and that's just how they've kind of managed the situation, tried to make something work out of, nothing, out of thin air. Like it just, you can't do that.
Right. It's I don't think you go through and you look at your previous lineups and you find ones that we've gotten hits, but not necessarily runs. Because here's the thing. If you don't string your hits together, you're not going to get those runs.
Mhm.
And you have to have a lineup where you've got guys consistently that can string hits together. So you do need to find a lineup where you've been scoring runs. Okay. Now, if you look at the fact that you had Howie batting last and you had Gio batting first, the only difference there is one extra at bat that Howie's not going to get that Gio gets,
Yeah.
right? So essentially, you've got your number 9 is your number 1, and your number 1 is your number 2, and your number 2 is your number 3, right? So I get that. But there's not necessarily a problem with having Howie get that extra at bat. There's not that problem of having, a Rincon as a number 3. I would put him in as a number 4. You've got Del Valle that's been cracking the ball like crazy. Give him an opportunity to crack the ball when he's got more runners on base. You've got Valera who's been hitting the ball safe. When I watch him batting practice. I watch him just swinging the bat. That guy knows how to place the ball. And he's a guy that if you have him batting number 5, he will place the ball to try to get some guys in. Is it going to happen 100% of the time? No, but it's baseball, right? Have a guy like him, number 5, he's going to place the ball where it needs to go. You're going to get that 1 or 2 more runs, and that's the difference in a ball game. So I I just don't understand where the flaw is in my thinking versus what I'm getting, because I'm looking at our lineup and I'm like, what the heck is this?
But I mean, even if you were to keep Howard Rodriguez and Gio Diaz at 1 or 2, however I would rather have Howard first and Gio second.
Yeah,
But even a Valera batting third is in baseball. It's such an oddity because you fail 75% of the time that you go up to the plate. It's the matter of when you get the hits. It
right.
seems like we get hits with 2 outs, and we get hits with 1 out. We get the hits, and then it goes dry.
Yeah.
It just the hits aren't timely.
So you can't, and this is, we can say you'll fail 75% of the time, which means you're batting 250, but that's not true, because the other niche part of baseball is that walks don't count against you. So if you're selective in your pitches and what you're swinging at, and if you have good umpires, right, you can do that a little bit more frequently than when you got guys calling things that shouldn't be called. Um, you can be selective. You can take those walks. And that's one of the things that I think Gio excels at. I don't know that he's been excelling at it as much this year, but he excels at making sure that he's taking the pitches that need to be taken. And he gets on the base. We get runners on, we're not scoring.
Hmm.
And I feel like we're getting runners on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, and then 7, 8, and 9 are done. Or we're getting 8 and 9 are up and they're out, and then all of a sudden we've got Howard gets on base, Gio gets on base, and then we get a strikeout. Now we left 2 guys on. We've had bases loaded with nobody out and not scored.
The second game against Fargo, we I wrote it down. I just don't know where I wrote it down at, but we went 0 for 4, but we scored 2 runs. The runs came on a hit by pitch and I think a sac fly. So, but nonetheless, is like when you're and this was 0 for 4 with 1 to no outs. This wasn't like 0 for 4 with 2 outs. Like
Right.
this was opportunity to score runs. And the 2 that came in are a sac fly, which I'll take that, or a hit by pitch, I'll take that. But I'm just saying if those would have been hits, we're looking at
Oh,
4, 5, 8 runs.
crack that inning open,
Yeah.
right? And now look at the other side of it. You have bases loaded with no outs, and that pitcher gets out of it. That pitcher has confidence.
Yeah.
And you've just boosted them up. And what have you done to your hitters? And what have you done to your pitcher? Your pitcher now comes out there and he's like, "We just had bases loaded with nobody out. We didn't score anything. I've got to be perfect." And that's not necessarily something you're going to see. So it's the wonderful thing about baseball is everything affects everything, and it's an individual sport at points, but it's also a team sport majority of the time.
It's the most individualized team sport there is.
Yeah.
We're at the point to where things are going to get interesting because if we're able to completely take Lake Country, if we sweep the rest of the Lake Country games, that's going to be a big boost. I mean, that's 6 games right there that we beat them, and we're facing, outside of seeing Fargo and Winnipeg, it's all in conference,
Right.
all in
And
division. So
it's all good spots. I mean, we win these games and the other teams are fighting each other too. So it's not like it's we just have to do it. We just
there's
have to know who we are.
there's still light at the end of the tunnel. It's just
Faint.
very small. So that's the biggest fear for me was that the locker room was going to start deteriorating, and it doesn't seem like it is just from the conversations being had with the players. Is that's not something that's I don't think the locker room falling apart is a bigger issue than it has been in years past.
I that's interesting because no, I think that those guys are helping each other and they're wanting to succeed. I think they're trying to find footing in what they've been given. That's why I think that these guys, it's not a fluke. You know, these guys
No,
are good players. What they show on paper, they're good players. Um, is it a lineup issue? I mean, it could be anything. I'm leaning towards lineup issue. That being said, so we talked RailCats, we've talked that. Last week we talked promotions. Uh, I came up with what I believe to be a genius promotion idea. I pitched it to Anthony. He said get back to him in October. I'm going to pitch it on here. I want feedback on it. Have people leave us some comments. All right. Um, I think that when we face Kansas City next year, that one of those games we would have an alternate jersey, a jersey auction, and we should be either the Indianapolis ABC or the Indianapolis Clowns. We should be a Negro League team name for that game with those jerseys. We auction them off, and the money goes to the Negro League museum.
yeah,
I think that's a brilliant idea. I did come up with it. It is mine. I can say that.
yeah. I like it. I think that's another way to one. There's your alternate team name. I know it was kind of funny that you said clowns because that just the bipolar portion of it, but
I
that's
know.
not. But I also think that helps, especially being in Gary with
Right.
its predominantly African American community. I think you would make it a Negro League night.
Right.
You you have those jerseys. Kansas City can get involved with it if they want to make special jerseys and they want to auction those off to their fans or whatever the case may be. It can go in the museums or whatever the case. I think having Kansas City in the league, I think everyone should have a Negro League night.
I think that, yeah, I
I
said,
think
hey,
it's a I think it's a
you need to
brilliant
talk to the other teams and see if
I
you
think
can
it's a
make this
brilliant
a thing.
idea. I really do. Um I wish that's why one of the big reasons I wanted to go to Kansas City for the All-Star break was just to go to the Negro League Museum. Being a history person, those are the kinds of things that I enjoy is the heritage behind it. Like it's just not baseball isn't just ran by the MLB. There's a lot of parts and pieces and a part of history that I think we miss out on uh because it just gets lost in history.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Kansas City rebranding, I don't think that the Negro Leagues would be as big as it is at one point. I know the MLB put in the show the Negro Leagues and all the players and all that other stuff like that. They put that stuff in, but that wasn't until after Kansas City went through the rebrand. So I think it's
Right.
catching on. I think it's catching itself on. And now that they added Negro League stats into the Major League stats, I think that just having that kind of promotion night
Makes sense.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes
I
sense,
I
especially
would
when you're getting a lot of people that love baseball, and
yeah
that is part of baseball. And so understanding that era of baseball, um, I think it just brings some awareness. It raises some money for the museum
mhm,
that should absolutely be. I mean, that should be a museum that is overly funded because of the amount of money that's in baseball.
yeah
So raising some money for them, just bringing awareness to it, and I think that you can't go wrong with, uh, giving a shout out to the roots. I mean,
yeah.
come on, So uh, hopefully, we get some good feedback on it. Um, I would say, hey, think about it. If you would buy a jersey at an auction, hey, put down that you'd be interested in buying one. I mean, come on,
Yeah, I
whatever we got to do to get this pushed through.
granted all the jersey auction they do for charity and stuff is great. It's wonderful. Don't get me wrong, that is. But now you're bringing a baseball charity to it.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's the same thing as uh helping out like a Gary Little League. Have a Little League
Well,
night
so
with
so going back to that, I also had another idea. This was kind of fostered by something that had happened in Lincoln. I mentioned this to one of the guys at the RailCats, and they were going to have some conversations about it. Call up the local little leagues and tell them, because these little leagues, their managers pick their team name or whatever. Have them pick teams from the American Association. And then when that team comes into town, those players get tickets to the game. You can give them slugger meals or whatever you want to do. Let that coach throw out a first pitch, right? Let them wear their jerseys supporting Kane County or whoever it
Mhm.
is, right? Whatever team it is that they play throughout the year. And then if that team wins that night, put them in line to shake hands with the players.
Yeah. I
I mean, come on, let them root for whatever team it is. Get them involved at a young age, and get them out to the RailCats games, and make it happen. It would be very easy. You're making money off of getting them into the stadium. You're getting kids that are going to be there numerous times after that. You're making money off the concessions. Sell them the RailCats hats at a discount for their uniforms.
mhm.
You're making money off of that. Get them, all of these different ways that you're going to make a profit off of it, but you're growing your fan base.
As much as we talk about management, blah blah blah, Lamar Rogers gets it. Okay, so we're sitting there and we're having a conversation, and there's a kid that's sitting by the dugout waiting to throw out the first pitch. At the time, I didn't know what he was doing, but Lamar pulls him onto the field, takes a picture with him, and then brings him over to where everyone else is warming up and gets Jose Contreras to throw a ball to him. And then he's playing catch.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of connections that you like to see at the ballpark. It's
Absolutely.
you're those that kid is going to remember that the rest of his life. He's not
Yep.
going to remember he's not going to remember probably who Lamar Rogers is. He's not going to remember who he threw the ball to or was playing
Nope.
catch with, but he's going to remember that he stepped onto the field because the manager of the RailCats pulled him onto the field and
Yep.
had him play catch. That's it. He's not gonna remember the score of the game. He don't remember what the temperature, don't know what time of day, and or what time of year it was. He's
Yep.
gonna know that he was on that field playing catch, and that's gonna be a connection that he's gonna have for a lifetime. Same
Yep.
thing with Andrew Mild having his birthday party at the Steel Yard, and look at on his birthday he decides to spend it at the Steel Yard again, but as the announcer. Like those are the kind of connections that you're going to make towards baseball.
Yep.
If you do those. The community nights, they're nice and everything. The kids are gonna be, oh yeah, I remember going to a baseball game with the RailCats, but that's not going to be, it's not a connection
Yeah.
that you would
And
get.
but you also can't do that to every kid that
No,
comes up,
no,
right?
no, 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 no.
And but here's the thing though. We can do a lot of things wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. We're we're not to the level where every cylinder is constantly firing perfect. Okay. I get that. But there are some things that we do very well. And I'm going to say a handful of those things are the on-field stuff, the interaction with the fans, the I mean just when you come to the steel yard, you enjoy it.
Mhm.
That we get that right. The beautiful look of the field. We talked about hopefully having Noah on at some point and being able to talk about how much effort it takes to put you have to put in to have that field look that good, right? Um, I- we do some things extremely well. I would even say close to perfect. Okay. Um, and then we don't sell it.
Mhm.
Jersey auctions. I was talking to some guys when we did the St. Jude jerseys. They weren't getting any money, which was very disappointing. It's a Friday night and nobody was bidding on these jerseys. And I'm like, why? Why? A lot of people there. Why is nobody bidding on these jerseys? And I think that some of it might have been the design. Design wasn't all that great. I felt I could be wrong, Um, maybe that was it. In fact, it was a Friday night and you had a lot of people that it was so busy that maybe it was like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Maybe it wasn't pushed enough. Maybe Jason didn't mention it enough. I thought that he did though, and that kind of stuff. But when you've got jerseys to auction, one of the things we do different is that we let the people that buy the jerseys out on the field, we let them interact with the players, we let them get autographs from the other players, and they wind up standing out there for 15, 20 minutes, meeting the other players or meeting the players or getting pictures with the guy whose jersey they got, right? Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. The moment I mention that kind of stuff to people, they bid on a jersey.
Mhm.
If they're on the fence and I say, listen, you're not really buying the jersey, you're paying for the experience. Well, what do you mean? Well, you get to go out. I get to go out on the field. Yeah. And you get to meet the player and you get to talk to them and you get to get a picture with them and you get to meet some other players if you want. Really? Well, yeah. And then they bid on the jersey.
Yeah, I think I think that's a failed point because most of the time you see it on Facebook, you see a post, but like it's just a post. Like it's just a jersey. Here's a jersey auction.
Right.
Uh, cool.
Right.
You go to the ballpark, they say, "Oh, hey, you can get a signed jersey by a player," but how many times they often tell you, "Well, you get to go on the field
And meet the
and,
player
and meet the player." Not very often. That should be plastered all
everywhere.
over.
That should be something that, hey, we're having this jersey auction. And by the way, if you win one of these jerseys, you get to, after the game, go out on the field and meet that player.
And I think another thing, granted, I like what they do with the autographs on Saturday. Get the, but sometimes it gets a little repetitive because it's the same people that kind of go up there. Because like I went up there, I think the only difference was, I think Casey Grimm was up there. Outside of that, it was, and then Nick I think was different than the last week. But yet again, Howard and uh, Cooper were up there. Like I get that you can't always have everyone because everyone has their own routines or whatever the case may be, but just even having them stand up front through the front gate or someone through the right field gate, just, hey, you could win my jersey tonight and meet me, and they just stand there for 15 minutes. right? Just get to meet get to meet the fans that walk in. You make that
Right.
connection, so then that drives someone to want to potentially bid on their jersey so that they can talk to them. That you have to kind of play a little bit of give or take because half these fans don't. I would say probably majority of these fans don't know who the players actually are. So
We're
where's
working
that?
on that.
Well, I mean, where we are, right? That's something that with the interviews that we're working on is that's something to hope with is, the prime example is, I'm not saying that the podcast helped out with that, but Keith Robbins, he's a newer fan. He's starting to really get into the RailCat stuff, and his guy's Cooper Edwards, and he bid it on his jersey, got to go down and meet him, get the jersey signed by him and take a picture of him. That was a big deal because he made a personal connection. He went out to get that connection.
Right.
Your bigger players are gonna go out and you're gonna get those connections because you just constantly see them. But just the simple fact of, oh, hey, my name is so and so, you could win my jersey tonight, standing right in front of you as you walk in the door,
Yeah.
it's that's in the back of your mind going, oh, this is something I didn't know. I thought I was just autographing, I was just getting a jersey that was gonna sign to me and sent to me, you know, 2 days later or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ways you can do with it, but yet again, uh, we understand there was a lot of turnover before the season started, so I don't think the constant flow is consistent with what happened with promotions and the experience at the
Yeah.
ballpark
Yeah.
because of
No,
that. I,
I, I make these comments. I critique in hopes of improvement,
yeah.
not in hopes of, you know, complaining or anything like that. This is a critique in hopes of getting better. And that's I'll be honest with you. If next year they decide to do no promotions, I'm still showing up to the games and I'm still buying stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still paying for whatever it is. So promotions do not win me, lose me, anything like that. I enjoy watching the RailCats play. Okay. Now I'll preface that with this. I will see a lot more people show up and a lot more people cheering for these players that are putting in the time, right? If you have a good promotion.
Hmm.
And it would be awesome. There are times, I haven't seen it this year, but there have been times last year specifically, I can remember, where we've had enough fans that are sitting there cheering that you're like, wow, this is really nice.
Hmm.
You know,
I even take yesterday for example. I mean, for a Saturday afternoon, there was a buzz. There was a lot of people. They had the dancers and all that before, whatever the case may be, for the whatever club it was. But you had a lot of people that there was a buzz about it.
right?
But then the performance on the field wasn't
Yeah.
the best. And which granted, it's just one of the I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, but I think having a better promotion kind of eases and having stuff at the stadium eases. I think next week, I know this has gone way longer than I've expected. I don't even know how long we've been going for. I forgot
That's
to keep
way too
track.
long. I know. You're
Um,
gonna have to edit a lot of this stuff out. We should probably cancel and start over.
we're not doing that. Um, and this is something to talk about next week is like food, uh,
Ooh,
food, other things to talk about, stuff like that.
yep.
Um, but we should probably wrap this up. So, Chuck, you got any more final thoughts for this week?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Let me pull up the schedule that's coming up. So we go on the road for 9 games, but the next series is at Lake Country, at Chicago, which will be the next 2 games that are over the course of the week. We're 15 games back out of first place. That don't have a winning record. We're close to not having a winning record if we keep going the way we are and not evening out at 500. Um, yeah, we just these games are big. They just need to win it, so on and so forth. Yeah. But if you got any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, improvements, positive things, negative things, throw them all down in the comment sections wherever you have this at. Yeah, RailCats talk across all the platforms. I know, Chuck, you're not big into plugging your own stuff. You like to kind of stay a little bit low, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, I think I guess I should mention one thing. I know people are kind of getting a little confused by this. I have recently posted stuff about W energy drinks and Solist apparel. That stuff is commission based stuff. So if someone buys a product, you get money towards the podcast for it. If anyone is interested in that stuff, it's just RailCats Talk is the promo code. You get 10% off of W stuff and 25% off the Solist stuff. If you're
Nice.
concerned, it's not a paid sponsorship, so they're not technically sponsors. It's like a partnership kind of deal. So for people to understand that portion of it.
So my question to you, Kyle, is how much money do you get paid for doing this?
Oh, I don't get anything for this. We
There
don't
you
get
go.
we don't get this is not it's not a money aspect of it. Would it be nice? Yes, but that's not what that's
No.
not what I'm going for. It's just if you start seeing things like that, it's nothing that I'm trying to sell the podcast out or whatever the case may be. It's just it helps with minor improvements of certain things.
Gotta
So
have new microphone. Gotta have camera. Gotta
yeah,
have stuff, right? I mean,
there's more to it than just that. So it's not nothing along the lines of that they're paying me or us for doing this. It's commission based. So if someone buys a
I
product,
just wanted to make sure you weren't getting money and I wasn't.
oh no, trust me.
Right. Just you're getting rich and I don't get anything.
Once I start making the money, once we
Okay.
start making the money, obviously it'll be an even split. I can't, or maybe 75-25 because I do most of the.
Right.
But
I mean, I would,
I'm joking. I'm
like,
pure joking.
like I
But
would, if we're gonna get rich,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, I mean, if we're gonna get rich, we're gonna get rich together. So
right.
that's good. But I just want to clarify that before I wrapped everything up on that portion of it. But
Right.
I think that's it. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for the podcast. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, wherever you're watching this. And go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.